Hey guys, Hecon's here with the World of Warcraft video. Welcome back to the weekly series where I share one of my mailboxes, talk about gold making in World of Warcraft, and answer any questions that you guys had for me from last week. Remember that if you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments of the most recent video, and they may get featured in the next week's video. Anyways, let's get started. So not a whole lot to share this week. I just wanted to show you guys my sales on Wyrmrest Accord. I did loot most of my mail from this past week, but these are my sales from the past 2 days. You can see I've been selling decks pretty consistently. Fathoms for around 30k, and then Tides and Squalls for around 8k, 7.6 after the auction house cut. Did also sell another Dragon Rider's Harness for 112.8k after the auction house cut. Pretty solid sale. Remember that I was picking these up on my main realm for around 30k average, so it's almost an 80k profit on that item alone. I did also have to pay for the transfer over here, so that did eat into my profits already, but as you guys can see, I'm sitting at around 1.6 mil on this realm, and a lot of that is profit, so definitely paid for my transfer, and yeah, pretty happy about these sales. I think that's all I have to share on this realm, so why don't we just jump right into your questions from last week. So I was asked a couple of questions regarding DARKMOON decks, so I thought I would go over those first. The first question comes from Oil Spill, who asked, how do you deal with the time sink that's making decks? All the time spent shuffling for expulsum, milling, and making ink. It takes forever each day just on one realm. How are you doing it on multiple realms? It's insane just to think about doing it on more than one realm. Huh. And then the second question came from Jacob, who asked, hey, can you make a tutorial or link a good one for DARKMOON deck shuffling? I still don't know why you make new characters for it. Is it limited for a character or something? So here's a quick tutorial for shuffling expulsum and making decks. So you can definitely buy the nylon thread off of your Longboy, but you can see that it costs 60 silver. Remember that if you buy it in your capital from the tradesgood vendor, and you have any sort of rep, you're going to get a small discount. You can see that buying from the vendor is only 57 silver. This is an alt, so she doesn't have very much rep, but it'll get better and better as you get more rep, and it definitely does add up when you're crafting a bunch of bracers for the shuffle. So if you're using an alt to craft these bracers, remember to have a couple of good mailing operations set up if you're using TSM. For mine, I'm using two separate groups, one for the rare crafts and one for the uncommon crafts. The rares or the blues are going to my enchanter, and I'm going to disenchant these for the Ember Shard. And then the uncommons or the greens are going to my scribe, and I can scrap these. Remember that you're getting one expulsum for every 6.5 bracers, so you can figure out how much that costs, and yeah, factor the cost of the expulsum on your realm. And if we click this button and we have our mailing operation set up correctly, it should send all of these bracers to our alt. So it does miss a few sometimes, but once you craft more bracers, these should get sent off, so yeah. Makes mailing these really easy. You don't have to click each one manually and click it into your mail, so it saves a lot of time. So once you have all of your bracers transferred over, it's time to hit the scrapper. The add-on I'm using for this is called Easy Scrap, and I would highly recommend using an add-on just to make the process a lot easier. I did try out Billis's for a while, but I didn't need the data that his kept, so I ended up switching back to Easy Scrap. Remember to right-click any items that you don't want scrapped. For example, if you crafted a bunch of DARKMOON decks, definitely don't want to scrap those, so all you have to do is right-click and add it to the ignore list. Just make sure that everything on the eligible tab are bracers. Your gear should be filtered out if they're added to one of your item sets. And then if you add an item manually, they should show up here as well, just like the DARKMOON deck tides that we just added. And then, yeah, just double check that everything on here are just green bracers or blue bracers if you sent those over as well. Click the Q all, And then once it shows up in this box, you want to hit scrap. There is also a macro that you can copy from the add-ons website, which is what I'm using. So all I have to do is hit 1 and it'll scrap these 9 items. Makes it a lot easier in my opinion. This is exactly why I recommend using an add-on like this for scrapping. You don't have to select each item manually, and yeah, anything that's queued up, it'll automatically add to the scrapping box, so. Makes it a lot easier. So that's my process for the Expulsum Shuffle. It can get a bit time consuming if you have the profession set up on a bunch of different alts, like I showed you guys just now. However, it does go by much faster if you have, say, tailoring and inscription on one tune. You can have that character just craft the bracers and throw them right into the scrapper. And yeah, it makes it go by a lot faster. That's one of the main reasons why I have multiple accounts. I can have a bunch of different tunes logged in at the same time, doing the shuffle, crafting inks, milling the herbs, and a lot of it can be not like automated, but you can bind a lot of stuff to your menu bar, and for example, the scrapping process is a lot easier if you get that add-on, use CKS and have it hit 1. Makes the process a lot easier, and especially if you have like, let's say 5 accounts, you may not be 5 times as more efficient, but it's going to be pretty close, and especially with something as tedious as crafting the DARKMOON cards, DARKMOON decks, yeah, I'd definitely recommend having multiple accounts. Even if you just pick up a second account, you can have one account crafting the bracers and then the second account scrapping for the Expulsum, and that'll make you way more efficient than just having one account and a bunch of alts doing this. So the next question comes from AJ89, who asked, can you borrow me 130k gold? Since you have millions, that's nothing for you. Yeah, 130k definitely is nothing to me. However, I don't really give gold to random people. If you were like a guildie or something and you needed gold for a reason, I would probably say yes, but yeah, just random people that drop in on my YouTube channel, probably going to say no, so definitely applaud the effort, but sorry. So the next question comes from Rem, who asks, low pop RP. Nothing sells that well. Any tips on low pop RP realms? BOEs take forever to sell, if they sell, and map prices always crash. I use so much of my time, yet in return I barely get a token a month. I could have just farmed to make that profit in a few hours. So as far as BOEs on a low pop realm, my strategy is to buy low, which should actually be your strategy on any realm, but on the lower pops you're able to command higher prices because the supply of BOEs is a lot lower. For example, if I bought a BOE for 25k on a low pop, and it's the only one, I might try and flip that for 150k. If that sells, that's 125k profit, and enough to pay for a WoW token on NA. Definitely less time consuming than going out and farming herbs and ore, but if you're finding that farming is better for you, then yeah, I would definitely recommend sticking to farming, but I feel like BOE flipping is a lot more lucrative, a lot less time consuming, and if you're able to set up on a bunch of different realms, then you're going to make a lot more gold than if you were just farming on one realm, so thanks for the question. So the next question comes from Call of Duty Daily Highlights, who asked, do you think it's a good idea to create a character on an RP realm and farm transmog and sell? If you're having trouble making gold on your main realm, then yeah, I would definitely recommend setting up on a new realm, whether it be an RP realm or regular realm. I don't think it matters too much. And then yeah, farming up transmog or farming up items and selling on a new realm is definitely probably worthwhile if you're having trouble on your main realm. So the next question comes from Jason Latenberger, who asks, what pop do you consider as medium? So I like to use the Endermine Journal quite a bit and look at their price population scatter plot. I would consider anything under 175k as low pop, anything between 175k to 300 as medium, anything between 300 to 400 as high, and then anything over 400 as full. Obviously, Blizzard uses different metrics to calculate that, since one of my low pops, which is considered between 150 to 175k on the Undermine Journal, is sometimes labeled as high, so definitely depends on what source you use. I personally like to use the Undermine Journal. Some people like to look at Realm Pop or other sites like that, and then some people just go off of what Blizzard tells them, so probably varies person to person, but I like to use the numbers on the Undermine Journal, so that's what I go off of. So the next question comes from Elite Gaming 2569, who asks, "Thank you so much for answering my question, but I have another. What's your thought on transmog?" So I'm probably not the best person to answer this question, since I don't do very much with transmog. I do like to flip some transmog items like the Dragon Rider's harnesses, but I don't do very much like transmog farming or transmog crafting. For that, I'd probably recommend Student Albatross's channel or Wanna Buy Gold's channel. As far as my own thoughts, they are slow-moving markets, much like pets. And I think one thing that Student stresses a lot is to build up your supply. Let's say you're only able to sell 1% of your items each week, and you only have 30 items on the auction house. 1% of 30 is less than 1, so there may be weeks where you may not sell any items. Whereas if you have like 300 items or 400 items on the auction house, and you sell 1% each week, it's going to be like 3 or 4 items sold each week. And that's kind of the strategy you have to go with transmog. You want to have a lot of different items and have a bunch up on the auction house. So even if a bunch of them don't sell, you're going to have a couple of sales that go through. And yeah, definitely not one of my markets. I like to stick with like BOEs, current content stuff. So I would definitely recommend checking out like Student's channel or Wanna Buy Gold's channel if you're interested in getting into transmog. So the last question comes from Purdue, who asked, "What professions are best and easy to set up on a new medium pop realm? Like on one you already have starting capital." So if you already have starting capital, then definitely don't look into any of the gathering professions, since you can buy most everything you need off of the auction house. As far as which professions, I think they're all quite strong depending on what you want to do. Yeah, there's just so many crafts with each profession that it's hard to single one out and say this one's the best. As far as what's working for me right now, I like tailoring and inscription on a new realm. Just doing DARKMOON decks is quite profitable. Maybe enchanting is really good on one realm, so you might go like enchanting and tailoring. Tailoring to craft the bracers, and then just enchanting to disenchant and sell enchants on your auction house. I guess it really depends on the realm and what you want to do, what prices of mats are like. There's a lot of variables to consider, but I don't think there's like one profession that's going to make you way more gold than any other, so pretty much any of the crafting professions should be good, but definitely look at the numbers on your realm and try to pick one that's going to be lucrative. So that's going to be it for today's video. Remember that if you have any questions for me, you can leave them in the comments of this video, and they may get featured in next week's video. As always, thanks a lot for watching, and a huge shout out to my supporters on Patreon. Hope you guys all have a great week, and I will see you guys in next week's video. Late.